There we go. Okay, well, it's just us, but good morning to us.
Good morning to us.
And welcome to the hopefully new and improved version of TTR UK. Certainly,
Well, the infrastructure seems to be improved. So, not sure
yes.
about the content yet. Let's see how that
No,
pans out.
we'll go. Well, so we were the reason we're starting a little bit later is just so we've got a little bit of time to do some market analysis. That's the idea here, isn't it? That we can actually get some market analysis done. So let's crack straight into that because we've got the market open in 5 minutes. Flat and overnight. I don't know if you heard all the wranglings that were going on, mate.
Yeah, here we go again. It's just unbelievable.
It is a here we go again as well. I think who knows how this eventually unfolds and ends up. But what's been interesting is that firstly the movement with the pound, but I suppose subsequently the movement with the FTSE, because the fascinating thing about the FTSE is that I think if we get some significant pound strength, the FTSE will probably start to weaken. But some significant significant pound weakness. The FTSE will probably strengthen, but with some significant pound strength, does not seem to want to push the FTSE down. I'm not saying that the pound strength is significant, but when you look, we were kind of caught in this range yesterday. And
can we count on pound strength? I mean,
I think that well, this is what was going on with the pound yesterday. It was getting a really good kind of boost to the upside when we look on the clean charts on the longer term time frames. Then we see that the daily gave a really clear indication that we've hit this bottom, and and we got a go ahead. I think with this bar here, we have got a go ahead to buy. I mean, there's no two ways about the fact that there's going to be plenty of people that are getting involved down here. It's going to be about 150 pips, but there's so much room to the upside. If we grabbed right to the top, it could be between an 8 to 10 to 1, just between the bottom of this particular area to the top of this area, just off this bar here. And the bar's in a good place. When we look on a weekly chart, it tells us even more because we've got this kind of double bottom area going on, really. So I think there's going to be plenty of people taking a punt on that, mate. I think there's going to be plenty of technical traders thinking, I've got a signal and I've got my entry bar. I've got a vague reason as well, I think, to get in with Parliament taking control of proceedings. And it not seeming that Boris Johnson.
That's a big question mark, though, isn't it? Really, we can look and state technically that we're at a major support level, and if we were to go through this, oh my God,
yeah.
So yes, we've definitely got to be expecting a bounce. But can we count on the Parliament situation giving us a boost? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on that front, and I think that there could well be a little bit of slippage on that. The only thing that may happen from here is the general election. I think that could kind of put the cat back amongst the pigeons. But from what I gather, Jeremy Corbyn isn't falling into the trap, as they call it. They think that the general election would just be a one big trap because Boris Johnson will move the date of the general election till after Brexit. So suck them in for it and then move it till after Brexit, and he'll get what he wants, which is the no deal.
Is that the plan, huh?
Yeah, I mean, do you know, mate, they are, well, as I always say, it's Dominic Cummings. He's very clever, and he's a very good strategist. But I think people are just starting to get on his wavelength and on the page. They were scrambling yesterday, but there's a lot of opposition to the point now that Boris Johnson hasn't even got a majority now in Parliament. So it's going to be tricky. And I think, given that fact as well, the fact that he hasn't got this majority, it is going to be very tricky for Boris Johnson to to get a Brexit of any shape really through, because this is the thing, this is the argument that people keep saying, which is absolutely true. You can take no deal off the table if you want, but that means that there's going to be a deal. And just same from the European side, there's no guarantee that there can be a deal, because what do you do if you just can't agree?
And again, do they kick the tin down the road until there's a deal that they actually like?
Well, that's what they're proposing.
You know? Wow.
That is what they're proposing. Now, I suspect we're going to get some strength from the FTSE for the next day. So this is going to be interesting to see where can we get in. You know, I would like to buy the FTSE. You know, just thinking about the market analysis and the situation, but I can't justify buying here. We've already failed here once, twice, and this is our third attempt to get through this level, and it will get through, I think, at some point, but I'm not too keen on it just yet. I'd like a dip, really. I think it could get through this morning. There's no question of that, but I'd like a dip, because if I can get a dip down to around about the 72 level, then I'll be more than happy to try and buy the FTSE and see if we can have a little bit of a move to the upside. The rhetoric in America with the trade wars looks or appears right now to have calmed down a little bit. So I'm fairly comfortable, mate, in going for a FTSE long. That's my position. I'm risk on, if you like.
Just on that before you go.
Yeah.
We're what, 2 years and how many months into Brexit? I can't remember now. I wonder how long the trade wars can last. Can we go 2 years and 3 or 4 months into trade wars?
Oh, I think easy. Yeah. I think that's going to take a while. I mean, we've got the presidential election, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, most of this is about that anyway. You know, Donald.
And, I mean, that goes for a bloody year or more, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's another year, and another year and a bit. You're absolutely right. So I think we probably can. I think the trade war is going to last a while. It's too convoluted and complex an issue to resolve quickly. I would suspect. I think we're probably going to be banging on with this one for a little while as well.
Is it really? I'm of the opinion that, like, it's Trump's way or no way, and the stalemate, I suppose, is because he won't bow to anything. And after all, he's the one who's pulled it on. And, you know, his tariffs just keep on keeping on. He's going to keep banging them on.
Yes.
I don't know how this resolves. I don't know.
Well, he is, but I think that the issue really is that China have got supposedly have got a much better deal than the United States, and I think, you know, Trump's position is that until China kind of renege some of their power of the trade position, then there's going to be no deal. So I think it could bang on for quite some time yet.
Well, it certainly appears that way. There's no resolution in sight, so yeah, why not? And of course, China are a little bit, I don't know, should I say, distracted by what's going on in Hong Kong as well.
Well, absolutely, you know, and all this sort of thing, and also there's that crazy the storm that's going on over in Florida that's now moving over to the Bahamas. So there are, you know, there are certainly things that are going to distract from the main message. All I think that goes on with the markets right now is that the trade spat goes a little bit quiet, so people get a bit more comfortable and start buying up again, because the next announcement from trade is probably going to be negative, and then we see the sell-off come. There's certainly I think a wider and bigger sell-off coming with the markets, but I can just see a little bit of a climbing of a wall of worry for a short period. So that's the way that I'm looking at it, and that's the way I'm gonna trade it just for a short period anyway. So I am looking long FTSE. It would have to come down to, you know, this trend line and this level down here. Show me that it's holding it.
Possible.
What's that mean?
It seems that's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's coming. It's got to hold. Is obviously always the key, isn't it? So I think this bar looks like it's going to be the next 10 minutes. We'll continue to see it come down to this point, And then I need to see it hold. It might hold in the same bar, so I'll start watching the 5-minute bars in a moment to see if there's an entry on that. Right now, the 5-minute bar is showing some negativity, so I need at least 2 bars just to see whether the buyers are still motivated in this particular area, because so far they seem to be fairly okay with Brexit. The only thing
they've come out of the blocks, haven't they? They're buying the pound, they're selling the FTSE. Interesting.
Yes, they are. I mean, just back on that again. Let's have a look at the pound. So the pound is just easing itself to the upside. FTSE 100 just easing itself to the downside. And let's check the news and data for the day as well, because that may just put some. It might put the brakes on what I'd like to do for the day.
Certainly shook the market. It gave a little rattle yesterday when I guess the vote was the result of the vote was posted. We got a little bit of a movement on the pound and the euro at that time.
Yeah. So interesting. The services PMI. I can never pronounce this. I think it's Caixin from China. Services.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's come out fairly positive. So there's 2 now. We've had two Caixin reports. The first one was on Monday. Caixin Manufacturing, much more important. That was a beat, and we've also just seen that the services PMI is a beat. So this stuff's
more
important.
Interestingly, the manufacturing one burst back into positive territory above 50. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And actually, the market has got a bit of a booster off the back of that news and data point, purely because that is trade war stuff. So the trade war looks like it's not affecting China quite as heavily as people probably were concerned about.
And the Aussie benefits from that as well, apart from the fact that they got a 1 in 44 years current account positive yesterday as well. So,
did they really?
Yeah, 44 years since they've had a positive result on current account. So,
wow.
Now, what that actually means is another thing. I mean, there's positive numbers posted, but I'm not entirely sure that it's well, I suppose it is. I mean, if you look at the graph, if you go to the Forex Factory and look at the graph, I mean, it's absolutely outstanding number. I don't know if they've hit the wrong button or not. That's the
where is that then?
If you go to yesterday and have a look at the current account.
Yep, current account. Yeah, got it.
And then go to the graph.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, indeed. But 44 years since that's been.
Wow.
That's
okay. Well, that's gonna make me presume. I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody about the Aussie the other day and saying it was a buying opportunity in the area that it was in. So we'll come to that in a moment. Just to finish up here and see if this will shape anything today. We got trade balance from Canada. I'm not really interested in that at all. We've got inflation report hearings and Bank of Canada rate statement. I mean, it could affect the market a little bit, but it looks to me like there's nothing huge in the way. Services PMI from the UK at 9:30. Now that's going to stop me trading the FTSE until that release. So I'm not interested in the FTSE until we get that, which is a bit of a shame, but that's just the way that I do things. So a slew of data from Europe coming up in this next hour, and then in an hour and a half or so we have, or just less, we have services PMI from the UK. So we got a few bits and pieces to focus on this morning. So it looks to me like the brakes are on me, mate, until maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. So let me pass the baton to you and see what you've got. I'm interested in this Aussie because, as I say, I was talking about this Aussie to somebody the other day and saying to them that the Aussie was in a buy zone when it was down here.
Yep.
And I saw, and this bar was kind of telling us actually that there was some positivity, and really we just want to kind of look to buy the Aussie. Now I don't know if the break of that bar happened before it came back down again, so I will quickly check that. But huge engulfing bar, which took out the last 4, which really does show some positivity down there. with the Aussie. But what I do really like, and it looks like if you'd entered just above that bar, you'd be currently managing to kind of nurse a positive trade. So I quite look at the look of that. But what I was saying about the Aussie was because of the monthly the monthly charts, not over here but over here. Because we'd seen this low bounce up once already, there was a chance that when this came down and failed, that we could actually start to catch a bid from that point. So it was just giving finding out an excuse, and we got a cash rate coming out as well. Is that right, mate?
Yeah, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. Okay, and that was
no
left
change.
on hold, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look, nothing really is a non-event at the end of the day. It was forecast to be a hold, and it was. The RBA didn't say anything, positive or negative. It was just cut and paste from last time, basically. So, yeah, nothing driving that from that point of view, but that current account number was quite amazing. As I said, I'm not sure if they hit the right button there or they've got the right numbers, but yeah, quite amazing. And that, of course, helps the GDP figure, which came out today, which was also not a beat. It was actually level, but it's quarter on quarter. And I mean, 0.5% on GDP over a quarter ain't that grand, I've got to say. But I guess at least it's positive, it's not negative. And that's the takeaway, I think, out of yesterday, was the current account number being the best in 44 years. And, that can take that with the good news out of China. That's why the Aussie is rallying right now. And to be frank, I think that's the only reason the Aussie is rallying right now, and I don't know that it's sustainable. I will try and share the screen, shall I?
Yeah, you do that, mate. See, the FTSE is...
Let me see if I can remember how to do that.
FTSE getting a boost to the upside currently.
And I go that one and pick a screen. Righto. What screen would I like to share? Let me say that one and go share. Did that work?
Oh, that looks pretty good. Yeah, it works beautifully.
Happy days. Righto, what am I on? I'm on pound Kiwi, and what did I trade? Euro pound back in May, and I said that was probably the best exit I've ever made on a longer term trade. This one's up there. We got in down here. I don't know if you remember that. That's some weeks back, and I got out here. Moved my stops to here and put in a nice 10.5 to 1 result on that. That was really cool. I've been waiting ever since to get back into this long because I think there's still a lot of upside left. And, well, that chart's a little bit hard to read, isn't it? Because I've got, hang on, I'll see if I can take those off actually. Can I take them off? Doesn't look like I can, which is a bit of a shame. They're actually my daily levels, which are readable to me, but they're very, very difficult to make sense of what I'm about to say. So let me go a bit tighter. No, let me stay here for now. We've had the pound in all sorts. It's just been in all sorts forever. Yet we found a strong support level here versus the Kiwi back about 3-4 weeks ago, 2-4, in fact more than that, 5 weeks ago, and very, very similar to what Ash has been talking about on the pound and the Aussie, where we've put in these hammers at strategic levels, strategic support levels. The one issue, of course, was this bar here. I don't recall what that was all about, but it's very much a case of the pound is a volatile currency at the best of times, but when we're talking Parliament dissolves, Parliament new prime ministers who apparently are going to last 5 minutes, it's getting like Australia and their politics. But you're going to expect volatility here without question. But the overriding fact is, and I think I said it 2 or 3 weeks ago in most of the shows, that the strongest currency against the US dollar is actually the pound. Now that's no longer the case because we've had a little bit of a retracement on those moves. Not much, to be fair, but we're still seeing, believe it or not, a strong pound. Let me just go see if I can point that out. Here we go. Today is not so much, and I'm looking at the quarter where it's the weakest currency versus the US dollar. So this is the quarter that's just gone. But if you look at the monthly chart, it's second only to the yen versus the dollar.
I don't think you're changing your chart. That's the weekly, mate. Are we meant to be looking at the weekly?
Weekly what?
Weekly pound dollar. Oh no, I've got the weekly pound Kiwi at the minute.
I've got to change the charts. Not change my. No, it still should be the same screen. Oh, we're delayed. We're delayed by a fair bit. So audio and pictures aren't matching, I'm gathering. What are you seeing right now?
I am seeing the pound Kiwi. But I don't be too delayed. I'm seeing a 56 by 56.8, 57, 56.7, 56.9, 56.8.
Right. So perhaps I have to change. Doesn't make sense. Okay, it doesn't have to make sense, I suppose. How do I now change what I'm sharing? Is the question I have.
Oh, I'd see how you do that.
But it's the same screen. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, if you go new share.
Okay, let's go back to here. Don't have a control panel at my disposal at the moment. Sorry, guys, if you are watching this. I know it sounds like amateur hour, but pretty much it is, given that I don't know how to control this thing. Mate, I don't have a control panel.
Have a look for. You should see a little bar with a little.
Again.
You got it?
Yeah, got it again. New share. Yep.
New share. Yeah, then you should be able to pick a screen.
Okay. So no, I had that many screens. I've got about 20 screens.
Okay, that's it. Now we got FinViz.
No, I've only got 3. Right. Okay. So my point is and was at the time that there are only two currencies. Well, there's only one currency versus the US dollar that's positive in the last month, right? Going back a month. This is a month of data. But the next best is the pound. Believe it or not, the next best is the pound. And if you chose to trade it against Kiwi, Euro, or CAD in particular, you're probably on a pretty good thing in, like, let's say, intermediate to medium-term charts. The trick is, of course, knowing from day to day and hour to hour how that is actually working. So if I go back to the daily charts, look what happens. The pound is the strongest against the dollar, and the dollar has weakened, and the yen has gone backwards. So it's a very, very tricky thing to do, trying to line these things up, but spend a bit of time on it and go through all of these per hour, per week, per whatever you want. And I think it's a very good thing to actually have on board. But don't be just jumping into the market because the pound's strong right now and the yen's the weakest. You need to have a look at that and see what the chart's actually telling you. Is the chart telling you, okay, this is a retracement, maybe, and maybe this is a selling opportunity, maybe, there's all those things that come into effect. But the point I'm trying to make is the pound is definitely not the weak thing that you might imagine it to be. Let me see if I can do this again, Ash. New share. Oh, this is sexy when you get used to it.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you see all these screens I've got available to me?
No.
No. Okay. So you only see what screen I'm sharing. Fair enough.
Yep.
All right. So let's go back to that. And you saw that the Kiwi's as weak as lolly water, and the pound's as strong as anything. So really, what are you trying to do here, except get back into this trade? Sorry, this is me. I'm talking about. I'm talking about myself in the third person, or third person, whatever. So that's my focus right now, is to get back into this trade that I got out of a week ago. The trick, of course, is timing. And timing here, as I said to my strategy team yesterday and this morning, the trick here, I think, is to trade pound pairs when England is asleep, because the volatility should go completely out of the market at that point in time, because nobody can change anything. We can't have a parliamentary vote that changes, the dynamics of what the pound is doing in the next day, much less the next month. So I think that's where I'm at. Stay away from the pound whilst Parliament is sitting, but have a good look at it when England is asleep. So that's where I'm at the moment. So I can't trade the pound right now, because I think we are going to see volatility throughout the day. And I think Parliament, Ash, are deep in talks again, maybe even another vote today. Is that right?
I don't know. There might be a vote on the general election. I mean, it's such a mess at the minute. It's hard to keep up. But I think you're probably right, mate. You're probably right. There's probably a vote whether there's going to be a general election, and that's going to be very difficult for the opposition to vote down in a lot of ways, because obviously they want a general election because it's the only chance they got to get into power. But they also know that it is a bit of a trap. So it'll be interesting to see how that.
And I think it's a trap for us as intraday traders as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this is the thing. There's so many tools that Boris Johnson can use, or there's a few anyway. But all of them really involve ways and means that are so underhand and just against what you would think was normal. I don't know whether any of them will come to fruition. I mean, one commentator was saying that Boris Johnson can go and effectively announce a no confidence bill in himself. So that's the one way that he can bring on a general election. Now, whether he's going to go down that route or not, we don't know. But it's just crazy.
I'm not confident in me. Let's go.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Constitution, the way that the Constitution is structured, means that you can do these odd things to kind of get exactly what you need in the end. It's just a case of whether he will go down that route. Now, part of me thinks that exactly what we need in this country to get us through Brexit is, somebody who is willing to walk away and effectively commit suicide for the country, because it's the only way that we can actually focus the minds. But the other part of me recognises that politicians aren't the most honest bunch, and Boris Johnson sits fairly close to the top of the pile with that stuff. So when he says something, it's very, very difficult to trust what he's saying is the truth. And he's famously said things in the past, like he will lay down in front of the bulldozers at Heathrow Airport to stop them starting to build, and that never happened. There's lots of things that he seemingly is very impassioned and believes in, and none of them really. He never really kind of follows through on his claims.
I wonder what KPIs there are for politicians.
KPIs?
I don't think there are any. Yeah. Key performance indicators.
I don't know. I'm not sure, mate, actually.
I don't think there are any.
There probably aren't to the general public. There probably are to maybe intra-politician or intra-political indicators, but because there mustn't there? I mean, if you can measure out how much somebody.
No, they're not, because they're judged by their constituents, and the constituents vote them in or vote them out.
I suppose you're right. Yeah.
That's their only form of, I guess, governance.
Only
They've got no
barometer.
other. Hmm.
Yeah,
Crooks.
I guess you're right. It is very difficult, isn't it, to see how somebody's doing
Now, there's
if
a
they
thought. Maybe I should put that to governments worldwide, not governments, but countries. Yeah, okay. We need some KPIs for politicians. That'll
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And they get paid based on their performance.
Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
how would that go?
I think you could be onto something because really what we want to see is how often do they actually see through and complete the things that they claim they're going to do.
Yeah, seldom, if ever.
Yeah, which Theresa May's a good example. Theresa May always said that she'd get immigration down, and actually David Cameron down to the tens of thousands, and then they hit the 100,000 mark, within the next couple of months. So there's one right there. But the problem is they're all the same. I don't know.
Yes, they're all
In fact,
targeting
maybe
the
they're
same brush.
not. Maybe they're not, and maybe that's the point. Is that we're so clouded by politicians, just being so dishonest, that we don't recognise actually that there probably are some very good politicians out there that tell, relatively speaking, are a bit more truthful, and they actually do complete on the task that they state that they're going to complete on.
Oh, look, I'm sure there are those who would like to do that. Unfortunately, they're members of a party, and therefore that they have to toe the party line. And if they don't toe the party line, well, the party gets rid of them. Simple.
Yeah.
That's worldwide. Look at the situation in America. If you don't agree with Trump, you're gone.
Yeah.
So much. He can't really sack the politicians, but he puts a lot of pressure on them as well. So yeah, best leave that one alone. But I will put that to whoever runs America and whoever runs England and whoever's in charge. The Queen, she'll probably listen to me. Do you think?
Yeah, the Queen. Yeah, well, she's really who's supposedly in charge, isn't she?
Hang on, I'll just get on my teledex here. Lizzie's. I haven't got Lizzie's number. You got Lizzie's number?
No, I haven't got Lizzie's number. I would have thought it's probably just a couple of numbers.
What a bastard! I'll give Chiller a ring. Chiller will give me an answer. He'll be right.
Yeah.
Okay,
mate. Well,
better get a bit serious, I suppose. So yeah. My bottom line is I want to get long the pound, and going back to your point, I have to wait. I don't trade what you have seen, although I'd love to. That'd be really cool. Let me go to the daily chart again. I counseled my guys this morning that this was a really cool bar, and I'm expecting that we'll get an opportunity to trade this long on any of the pairs: Euro pound, pound Kiwi, pound yen, pound Aussie, pound US dollar. But I need to wait. I need to wait for confirmation because we've had such a momentous downtrend for such a long time. I need to have a confirmation. Maybe that was the confirmation that we are going, as you said. We had a bottom, and now we've confirmed that. This is very much the case on a lot of pairs who are now either at A, resistance, or B, support, as the crumbling currencies are, the pound, or anything basically against the dollar. Are we now going to see a turnaround in dollar strength? At the moment, you have to say possible. I'm on board with that, except with the euro, because I think the euro is in deep trouble. It's broken a long-term, and I mean a long-term support level. It's tried to crash through that many times. Couple that with the horizontal level 110, which of course is a significant number. I guess the only saving grace here for it is, I think that's what, 108, that level there. Hang on, I'll just put a...
Yesterday's bar as well looked pretty good. I'm not sure what caused that, but would
another massive selling bar.
No, yesterday's daily bar, sorry, mate.
The weekly. Sorry. Yep. It had a rally yesterday.
Yeah.
Came off that level. That's right. But didn't everything.
Nice little hammer
I
there.
mean, that's dollar. That's people selling the dollar.
Yes, it is.
Let me put it this way. That's people taking profit on the dollar.
Yes.
That's what that is. So,
yes, it is.
You know, and that's my point. I don't know yet whether that's sustainable on any currency at all. But when I look at the bigger picture, as I just did on the euro, I think the euro's in deep shit. So I can't get confident on the euro. But when I look at that bar there, as you said, that's massive. That's a massive bullish engulfing bar. If I were to get a pull back the daily pivot here and let's say a hammer or something like that sitting on the daily pivot, you have to be thinking, okay, we're off to the weekly pivot or the monthly pivot, or at least this level here. So
yeah,
you've got to trade what you see, and what I see at the moment is a whole lot of potential reversals, and I've been looking for potential reversals for weeks and weeks and weeks. But
I'm going to show you one thing.
Yep, sure.
I know you're in the midst, but this is where I've got my lines here. Share here. This is my pattern on the weekly.
Yep.
And I've got touch, and when I bring it to the daily, then that gives me this area where it start to spring up. So it wouldn't be surprising to me to see this, you know, actually get something of a boost to the upside. I don't know whether it's going to change trend. It seems pretty unlikely, doesn't it? But I think some retracements back to these areas to test a bit of a breakout point looks like it could be on. And as you say, you know, people taking a profit with a dollar. There's a chance that could happen, isn't there?
Look, I think that's exactly what's happening at the moment. If you go back to the previous low, that was exactly the same candle. We got a rally off that, and then it sold off quickly again. That's probably what I'm expecting here.
Can you see this?
I can see a little pencil. Yeah.
Can you see a whiteboard?
Yep.
Ah, look at that. I mean, I could probably write better than that, but
yes, Mr. Squiggle.
But still, I quite like the fact we go. Oh, sorry, I'm just discovering different things. What's the okay, no problem. Okay, I was just going to pass it straight back to you.
All right, look, I haven't got much more. I just wanted to make a couple of points, and the point was on the pound that I still think the pound's a buy.
Yeah,
but just wait for retracement now. Wait for a confirmation of this potential reversal. Don't just jump in on the top of a buy bar. I don't think that's a cool thing to do ever. What am I sharing here? I'm sharing that one, I think. Ready, set, go. Yep. So it's always the same with me. I love to trade off the bottom. I love to trade off the top, but I love the comfort zone that the next wave gives me, not the first wave. So whilst I totally get that we've got a triple bottom sitting here, totally get that we're coming back into a range, and if we get any pullback here, then I'm happy to trade it long. This is the Aussie. But I also see that we're at a resistance level, or near to a resistance level, and I'll be actually looking for this to turn around at some stage, whether it's here, whether it's here, whether it's here. That's going to be my focus. My focus isn't going to be a bullish move, because here's what's happening with the Aussie. The Aussies had a triple header, if you like, 2 lots of news. We've had that, what's it called? Current account figure yesterday, which was massive, the best in 44 years. We've had a great bundle of Chinese news, which is good, which transfers to Aussie positive, and we've had a decent GDP figure today. So we've had a triple header on the Aussie. And why wouldn't it be rallying? Of course it would be rallying on the back of that. But if you put that into context, the euro's rallying, the pound's rallying.
Yeah.
Everything's rallying against the US dollar. So let's put those together and see how the pound versus the Aussie is going. And you can see the pound's actually stronger than the Aussie today so far. I'm on a daily chart. That's speaking to me. The pound hasn't had any good news, mind you, that I'm aware of. Maybe the Parliament thing is. Put the euro against the Aussie. Where's that? There.
Well, of course, that vote is very positive for the pound. You know, if they can stop no deal, that's very positive the pound, because it's a counter reaction.
That's how you're reading that, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the pound was really selling off because of Boris Johnson's rhetoric of crashing out on the 31st. You know, no if no buts, with or without a deal. So now that's taken off the table, I suppose the pound is making that money back up again.
Okay, fair enough. Aussie versus the Kiwi, and the Aussie's been strong versus the Kiwi forever, basically in the last month and a half. It's struggling to get through these highs, given all of that good news that it's had. And this, to me, is a crucial point for Aussie Kiwi. We've got that beautiful double top sitting here. We've got well, it's not an inverted hammer, but it's a high test bar without question, and a reversal bar at this point. I would love to see this come down to the weekly pivot and put in a lower high here. That would get me short Aussie Kiwi, and I didn't think I'd say that anytime soon, but that's exactly what I'm seeing. The same on Aussie CAD, exactly the same on Aussie CAD. Now the CAD is very much relying on what the oil chart's doing, and I see the oil chart as at a significant support level, but I also see significant resistance dead ahead. So if we got through the monthly pivot here on oil, then I'd say the CAD's going to rally. We've also got an interest rate announcement on the CAD today, so timing here is going to be everything. But gee whiz, my fear is with that the CAD, they're going to reduce interest rates. It's not forecast, but that's my fear. So I'll probably have to wait on that until the CAD news comes out. But Aussie yen, I'm actually super keen on Aussie yen short, and I know the chart's not saying that at the moment. And wow, it's certainly not saying that at the moment. But as I said this morning in my show, this area here or this area here is absolutely key. And if we got any form of reversal bar here, then I'll be absolutely dead keen to trade this short. Why? Well, let's go back to what I said before. The relative strength that we've seen over the past month, in fact, the past quarter, will tell you that the yen is way, way, way stronger than the Aussie. And this little rally that we're seeing right now on the back of those three news events that I've just spoken about, to my mind, is not sustainable long term. Short term, I'm not sure how far it can go, but my guess is a strong resistance level will turn that around. And I've got one here and I've got one here. So I'll be very, very keen to trade Aussie yen short if it does set up. Pound pairs, I'm going to have to, as I said, wait till you guys go to sleep at night before I trade them, because I think anything can happen during Parliament sessions at the moment. And the volatility we saw yesterday could and probably will be repeated for the rest of the week. So that's about where I'm at, mate.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Well, the FTSE 100 is easing its way forward. I'm going to make a note of where it ends up and what happens with it. Had services PMI from Spain, which came out better than expected. We are waiting on news from the UK, which is services PMI. What may well happen here is the FTSE manages to close above the current price, and then the services PMI data possibly brings it back down again, creating another opportunity. But it is certainly climbing the wall of worry. So remaining on the bullish side with the FTSE for right now, mate. I think it's got maybe another 50 to 100 pips. It's still in its tank before we need to get overly concerned. with what's going on. So just going to try and get in, but no way in just yet. But yeah, let's wrap it up. We'll be back again tomorrow doing the same thing, right? 5 to 8.
Mate, 5 to 8. It's a date.
5 to 8. It's a date. I like it. All right, buddy.
See you tomorrow, mate.
All right. Have a good one, buddy. See you tomorrow. See you later, guys.